Big news. The almanac is officially back. The most exhaustive and comprehensive guide to the 2023-24 college basketball season is available for pre-order now. If you go to cbbalmanac.com, link is in the description below, you can pre-order for just $15.99 or 20% off the sticker price. The format is going to be a little bit different this season. Instead of an 850-page PDF, you'll be getting access to the full site with league-by-league PDFs available for download. The preview will be live on September 20th, so you have until then to be able to get your pre-orders in. So for insight for all 362 Division I teams from their head coaches and the experts that cover them, make sure you hit that link.
It's the Field of 68's off-season grades, and today we move to the West Coast, Rob, to Big Ten country. That's what they say. It's the UCLA Bruins, who have been very good under Mick Cronin for the last few years, and this year, we think they'll be very good. Maybe they won't be very good. I don't know. There's so many new faces here. I'm a little bit confused, and I'm excited for you to tell me about it. Jaime Jaquez is gone. Amari Bailey, one and done. Jalen Clark is gone. Tiger Campbell has departed. David Singleton, Mac Etienne. That's pretty much it, but that was a lot of names. I don't know why I'm acting like that's it. That's a lot. Expected to return. They did get Adem Bona back, 7 a game last year. Potential for much more this season. And then alongside him, a few other role players, notably Dylan Andrews. They're newcomers, Rob. Get ready for some pronunciations here from me. Jan Vide is in. Aday Mara is in. Berke Buyuktuncel is in, along with a recruiting class of Sebastian Mack, Devin Williams, Brandon Williams, and then the transfer from Utah, Lazar Stefanovic. Did I botch that? I feel like that's like a C+ from me if we're doing pronunciation
No, I would
grades.
give you, since it's off season, you got to kind of understand that it's off season. So I'd give you like a solid B. They also got a French guard coming in who's I don't even really know how to pronounce this one. It's Elaine Fibulo, something like that. But they what's fascinating about this group to me is that they went out and they brought in a whole bunch of really, really talented 19-year-old Europeans. And these are guys that are all like, Aday Mara is going to be a first-round pick. Like, he could end up, you're going to love this dude. He's 7'3". He passes it like Jokic. He doesn't really move like Jokic. He's a little bit skinnier, can't really shoot it, but like, you can run offense through him as a 7'3", 5-man because of his ability to pass the ball. Like, he is a guy that could have games where he gets 12 points, 12 boards, and 12 assists. I don't think that that's an exaggeration. Jan Vide is like a stud Slovenian 6'5" combo guard, a little bit more of a scorer, got some shit to him off the bounce. He played really well in the Adidas Nations event that they played this summer. Berke Buyuktuncel is he does a lot of the same things that Jaime Jaquez does in terms of being like 6'9", can shoot it a little bit, can pass it a little bit, kind of brings everything together, should be a 4-man for him. Stefanovic, the kid that transferred in from Utah, is like a 6'7" shooter, and obviously getting Bona back. Like, I don't know, outside of one of them being able to make a perimeter shot, I don't know if you had like a better pairing in the front court for the college level than Mara and Bona together.
Are they going to play those two together? That was my big question. Is like, is the plan for those two to both play 30 minutes together?
Yeah, and the way that I think it works because Bona is he's so good defensively that you can kind of like move him around a little bit, and he probably can chase around fours. I don't know if that's necessarily the best scenario, and I think there's going to be a lot of situations where it's like one or the other on the floor, but I do think that you can play them together because of Mara's passing ability. I think that you put him at the top of the key, you put him at the high post, and you have to have ball pressure on there because you can't just let a 7'3" dude stand there and pick out the open pass as people move around him. So I think that his passing ability will create spacing on the floor for other guys, and then everybody else around them can shoot it. Right. And then you also bring back Dylan Andrews, who for my money is a guy that like could end up being a really, really good player this season. Could be like something in the breakout role. They don't really have another guy that can do the stuff that he does off the bounce, starting point guard. So like, I think you have a really good top 6 or 7 with this UCLA team. And like a lot of guys, I'm just fascinated to see their transition to the college game, right? Like to me, I don't really know how good UCLA is going to end up being. I would say that Arizona is probably the favorite to win the Pac-12 this year, and I would say that assuming Bronny James like gets back to being able to play this season, which is no guarantee. Obviously, he's dealing with the heart issue. But I think that USC is probably like a borderline top 25 team. I could see UCLA being good enough to compete with Arizona for a Pac-12 title. I could also see UCLA being an 8-8 team in the conference this season. And it's because they have all of these guys that, one, they just committed like in the last month or two, right? They just finally are able to get these guys coming over here towards the end of August because of the fact that they were all playing in the U18 World Championships, the U19 World Championships for their national teams. Like Aday was playing for Zaragoza, which is a really good team in the Spanish ACB, which is probably the second best league in professional basketball in the world. So like you have a lot of guys that are going to be very, very good players one day. How good are they going to be right now? And to me, that's going to end up being what determines how good UCLA is. I will say this, because of all of those pieces and because of the fun different players that are on the roster and the weird skill sets that all of these dudes have, UCLA is up there for like I'm fascinated to see Hunter Dickinson playing for Bill Self. Cannot wait to watch that. I am so excited about seeing what Tyrese Proctor can be this season. Going to be awesome. Obviously, UConn is like top 5 for me always when it comes to what teams could end up being. I'm most excited to watch. UCLA is not that far behind any of those guys because I think there's a very real chance that like 3 or 4 of these dudes end up being first round picks come June's draft.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of like did you ever play like College Hoops 2K, whatever it was with Greg Oden on the it's kind of like you just hit randomize and just signed a bunch of overseas recruits one off season, and now we're going to see what it looks like, which honestly under Mick Cronin should terrify people. Like you're telling me we're taking Mick Cronin and we're just giving him a bunch of tough overseas dudes. Like that's one of the scariest propositions for opposing teams I think we've ever seen. I trust him to figure it out. I mean, his teams always play hard. They always are edgy. And I think he's going to be able to get the best out of these guys. Now, I know about Mara. I know about Vide. I don't know a ton about the others. I'm not going to lie on this program. But I've seen the tape on them. I was praying that my team got involved in their recruitments while they could. They still need some bodies. And I think it would be the only thing I think I would feel better about for UCLA going into the season would just be if there was like a stable alpha back that had been around that you could surround these guys and have them play supporting roles and just kind of wean them into it a little more. And maybe Bona can be that. I don't know. I'm not sure I'm fully confident of what Bona can be capable of, especially offensively. He's a piece.
Here's the other thing that's so fascinating about it to me is that we've kind of seen teams go away from the high school one and done superstars build around them, right? Like the Kentucky model of 2012, the Duke model of 2015. It's not really there anymore. Part of that is because some of these guys are getting picked off by G League Ignite. Part of it is because some of these guys are getting picked off by Overtime Elite and never making it to a college campus. Part of it is because with COVID years allowing players to be 24 years old and seniors, like there's the gap between a one and done freshman and a 60-year senior is just absolutely gigantic. You want to be older, right? Part of it is because the classes that have come in period, like the 2022 and 2023 recruiting classes, really weren't that good at the top, right? So this is, to me, it's the new era of one and done where NIL has opened up opportunities for European players to come to college, to play for a year, to not have to give up money that they would potentially be able to earn as professionals playing overseas, and be able to expose themselves to NBA scouts, to NBA fans, to American fan bases, and get to the NBA maybe a little bit quicker, maybe build up a little bit of hype, and open that up as the avenue to get to the NBA, which is where everybody wants to get to. So is this the new version of one and dones? Right? Is this the new version of, okay, we're going to go try to get Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and Marquise Teague? Nope, we're going to go get Jan Vide and Almara and Berke Buyuktuncel, right? And if it works, I do think that you're going to see a lot more teams try to follow this model. But there's also no guarantee that it works because, like, at the end of the day, they are 19 years old and they are coming to a new country. Do they speak English? Do they speak English well enough to understand what the fuck Mick Cronin is saying? Like, have they been cussed at the way that Mick Cronin can cuss at you? I'm sure there's a lot of Serbian coaches that have. I don't know if there are Spanish coaches that have. And then, like, not only that, but they're getting there in August. How quickly are they going to be able to adapt to what UCLA wants to do? Will this work? Like, it's just such a fascinating test case to me that I'm really, really excited to kind of see it play out. And I will be very interested to see if this is, we've seen the overseas door get open by programs like Gonzaga, by programs like Arizona. Like, we've seen guys go out and get a bunch of these players and put together a roster that looks like the United Nations. We haven't necessarily seen it be done with a bunch of guys that can be one and dones. And if it works, I think you're going to see other programs try to follow this model that Mick Cronin is trying to put together.
Yeah, I like when coaches zag in general, not to be a Gonzaga reference, but I like when coaches zag when everybody else is zigging. And this is definitely a zag. It's a high risk one, but it's a high upside one as well. I think you would just hope as a fan, you would hope, and I don't know these guys. I don't know if they are wired like this, but you would hope that all three of the potential one and dones that are coming in are there to unpack their bags a little. Like, it would scare me if all three are just like, oh, I know I'm gone in 4 months. Like that.
I don't think, I don't know if they operate that way. Like, I don't know if they're necessarily thinking that way. Now, Aday Mara might, because Aday Mara has already played against professionals, which is why I'm like, if he was getting real minutes in the Spanish ACB, what is the Pac-12 going to be? A step down. Like, maybe it'll be easier for him, And a lot of those guys, when you're playing for European clubs, even if you are still technically an amateur, like, you're playing against 26, 27, 28-year-old adults, right? Like the dude that's going to Kentucky, Visich, the Fletcher McGee was on his team. 26-year-old former Wofford star Fletcher McGee was on his team playing overseas. So, it's so interesting. I can't, like, that's, like I said, there's teams that are going to be much better than them. I don't know how many teams I'm more excited to just kind of see how their season plays out in this UCLA group.
I do think they should own like a monopoly to the rights on all over. Like, Ivisic should have had to go to UCLA. Johnny Furphy should have had to go to UCLA. Just throw them all on one roster. It'd be way more fun that way. All right. What's the expectation then? We alluded to it. Like, can they compete for a Pac-12 title in the final year of the Pac-12? Is that the goal?
Who knows? Maybe.
It has to be the goal, though, right? It's the final year of the Pac-12 and you're UCLA. It has to be the goal.
You're UCLA and you have a bunch of stars and you got a bunch of pro players and you go. I don't know. I think you can make an argument that this is the most talented top 6 that you'll find on the West Coast. I don't know how many teams in college basketball, period, could end up having 3 first-round picks, maybe 4 first-round picks, depending on what Adem Bona could end up being. So we'll see. But the expectation, you're UCLA. Like, the expectation is you win the Big 12.
Yeah, or Pac-12. And
Pac-12.
I think they can. I think that's the expectation, and I think it's realistic. Also, I don't think it's delusional. Who's the X factor? Everybody.
Honestly, like, to me, the X factor is how well these guys can adjust to American life, to living in LA, to Mick Cronin. Like, if you're getting there this late in the process, like, one, it's always difficult if you're a freshman and you're only getting there in August to kind of pick everything up. Part of it is like the adjustment to college basketball. Part of it is new terminology. Part of it is everything. So not only are you throwing in a new style of play, not only are you throwing people into a new country in a completely different time zone, but like the terminology that you have as an American basketball coach versus the terminology from someone in Slovenia versus somebody in Spain versus somebody from Turkey. Like, it's that adjustment, that acclimation process, figuring all of that out is just like, that's not going to be an easy thing to do. So like, it's not an X factor. It's the factor. That is what's going to determine like how good this team can end up being.
Yeah. All these other programs are going on overseas trips. UCLA's overseas trip is to Westwood. Like, that's what it is this season. I was going to go Bona for my X factor, but the more I think about it, I don't really think there is a world where Bona is the driving factor in how good this team is. That's no disrespect to him. I think we know what he is. He's a good starter and he can be a lot more productive than he was last year. You hope that happens. I just don't think like Bona is the best player and that decides how good UCLA is. I think it's going to be the guys they brought in, which means the X factor is Mick Cronin. And picking the coach for this exercise is a little bit of a cop out, but I'd be curious, like if you threw this exact situation at every single coach in the country, I think Mick Cronin would be in the top 5 to 10% of guys I would trust to be able to figure it out. And I could be wrong on that. We'll see what happens. But I think that I know what to expect from his teams, no matter who the personnel is. And it's going to be fascinating to watch, as you allude to. I think if I had to bet, though, gun to my head, I do think he figures it out. And I think this team factors into the race.
Honestly, like I would absolutely not put Mick Cronin near the top of that list of guys where it's like, yeah, you got a bunch of foreign kids coming in. Like this is who you want to try to figure it all out. I also would have put Mick Cronin nowhere near the list of guys that I would want coaching UCLA and expecting them to be able to do things like, oh, I don't know, get UCLA to a Final Four, win some league championships with them. So like, maybe I just shouldn't doubt Mick Cronin. Maybe he'll find a way to get it done. He wins everywhere he goes. Well, how is this year going to be different?
Yeah. Let's give them an official grade. What is your grade for the Bruins offseason?
Look, I'm going A. Okay.
Whoa.
I'm going with an A. If you look at what they lost, right? If Jalen Clark comes back, he's coming off of a torn Achilles. Like there's no, who knows what he could end up being. The thing that made him so impactful was his athleticism and his burst and what he could be defensively. We saw what Justin Moore was as like a shell of himself in a best case scenario coming back from like a late season injury like that. I don't know what Jalen Clark is. Tiger Campbell graduated. He was there for 4 years. He wants to get his professional career started. Like maybe you could have convinced him to come back. Probably not. So considering that you were able to, like, all of those pieces that were already gone before what we were really consider part of the offseason, you're able to build it up to you get Bona back, you get Andrews back, and you go out and you add 3 potential first round picks. 3 guys that, like, Sam Vecini dropped his mock today as we record this. He's got Mara as a 15th pick. He's got Buyuktuncel as a 27th pick, and he's got Vide as a top 40 pick. Like, you were able to add those 3 guys in April and May. Go show me another program that added 3 potential first round picks in April and May. I'll wait.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I thought I could trap you into like somehow justifying Kentucky as that, but I don't think there's a path to that. I think A is a little crazy, but also everyone who watches these videos thinks I'm crazy for my negative grades. So maybe you're right, and that's a good grade. I can't go higher than a C+, Rob. I really can't. I think Jalen Clark could have been back, and I think Tiger Campbell could have been back, and I think any evaluation of this offseason has to start there. Like there were heavy rumors that Tiger Campbell was going to play in college somewhere. And Jalen Clark, most people expected him back in the circles that I was in. So to not have either of them and to really be starting from scratch is a hole I think you kind of put yourself in. Now, do I like what they did after that hole was there? Yeah, I do. But it's still such a high risk proposition that I don't think it elevates them much higher than just avoiding disaster. So I'll give them a C+. It's a very tentative C+. Throw an asterisk next to it. Let's come back at the end of November and determine if I'm crazy or if I was accurate here. Rob, the biggest and final question for me with UCLA, will they be the best team in the Big Ten? Who knows? We have to see. That's what everybody wants to know, Rob. College basketball is driven back through the new Conference of Champions. Welcome, Bill Walton. Come to my house with open arms. If you want to see more videos of us being idiots like this and grading people from an A to an F, you can do so on the Field of 68 YouTube channel, where we have all of our off-season grades series. We also have a bunch of other stuff, not to toot our own horns, but we do a lot of work over here at the Field of 68, and there's a lot of great content coming as we approach the season. For Rob Doster, my name is Greg Waddell, and we'll see you next time.
Our partner for today's episode is Athletic Greens. I started taking AG1 during the college basketball season, and I loved the impact that it had on my energy levels. I'm a big coffee in the morning guy, but by the time that the afternoon would hit, I needed another boost. AG1 helped me tremendously, especially on those days when I didn't want to get up off the couch and go hit the gym. Their tagline is AG1 is comprehensive health and the power of habit in one. And man, that could not be more true. It's nearly impossible to eat and drink in a healthy manner in the month of February and the month of March when you are in my business. And AG1 was exactly the supplement that I needed to improve my gut health and cover my nutritional basis for the day. I've continued that into April. I've continued that into May, and I'm going to continue that the rest of the summer. All I have to do is mix a scoop of AG1 with some water or maybe add it into a smoothie, and I'm ready to go. Do it after lunch, and you'll be ready to go for the rest of the day. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/field68. That's field 68 FIELD, the number 6, the number 8, and you can get yours now. So check it out and help support this show. Thanks.